Alright friends, it's time to get started on replacing our tailgate trim panel. For this, you're going to want to make sure you open up the rear hatch. After that, we're going to remove this entire panel. Looking at it, you're going to find several push clips that you'll have to remove. To remove your push clips, you can use a trim tool. Carefully find where each of your push clips are, gently pull down on the panel, and carefully make your way in between. We'll pry this out of here. And now we can make our way all the way around. We'll collect all of them when we're done. Now that the panel's out of the way, let's have a look towards the passenger side area. Now looking at this, you're going to find that you have two wiring harnesses that come through a rubber grommet. Follow those wiring harnesses. You'll find one leads to a blue connector. We're going to carefully separate this using a small pocket screwdriver. Every time you disconnect an electrical connector, just take a peek. If you see any funny colors, it's corrosion, and that would need to be dealt with. Now for the other part of the connector here that's still attached to the tailgate, we're going to carefully grab onto that, give it a little wiggle, and pull it down. Corrosion check. Now let's follow that other wiring harness over to this side. This should be pressed in this area right here. You can go ahead and pop that down. And now the next thing you'd want to do is disconnect this one as well. You can find that it has a much smaller area to press on. Give it a little squeeze, a quick inspection, and then set it aside. Now at this point, we have both of our wiring harnesses disconnected. Let's make our way right up here to the rubber grommet. We're going to carefully press on that and start pressing it out and through the tailgate assembly. For this, I'm going to carefully use my screwdriver, and I'll gently start pressing this out and through. Just work my way around. Okay, now we can pause with the wiring, and we're going to move along to the mounting hardware. You're going to find that you have two studs protruding through the area, and holding the studs in position, you're going to have two 10mm nuts. We have one on the passenger side and the same exact thing over on the driver's side. Inspect your mounting hardware. Assuming it looks good, set it aside. Now let's make our way to the outside. Carefully grab onto that trim panel and gently remove it away from the vehicle, being extremely careful not to damage your paint. Let's grab that wiring and pull it out and through. Now on the bench, the next thing we need to do is start removing all the accessories that are on our panel. Let's start with the very center. You'll notice that you have two Phillips head screws. Remove the pair. Inspect the hardware as always. Assuming it looks good, set it aside. Once you have each of the mounting screws out of here, the next thing you want to do is continue turning the panel. We're going to have a look at the back side where the tip of the screw would have went through. Now looking at that, you can see that it has two ears. We'll carefully squeeze on the two ears with some long nose pliers. Now I'll use a small pocket screwdriver or some sort of small prying device and carefully get in between the area and gently separate it. This can take a little bit of force. Just be extremely careful not to break this area here. There we are. That side's broken free. I'll do the same on the other side. We'll just carefully remove this and set it aside for now. Now let's start removing the pigtails for each of the plate light assemblies. That's these areas here. Carefully grab onto the pigtail and give it a little twist counterclockwise to unlock it. If you can't do it with your fingers, just use some long nose pliers. Be extremely careful not to damage the plastic or especially the wiring. We'll pull the wiring out of this area here. Once you remove each of these, it's important to make sure you inspect the bulb. You want to make sure it doesn't look like it's black, brown, or burnt in any way. Have a look at the inside. There should be a little wire or filament on the inside. Make sure it doesn't look like it's broken or damaged. Assuming it looks good, continue on to the other plate light. For this one right here, it looks as though it needs to be replaced. If you have to replace the bulb, it's a 194 bulb. Carefully grab onto it, give it a little wiggle, and pull it right out of there. Be extremely careful, it is made out of glass. Now we can finish removing the wiring harness from the assembly. Carefully pull it out of its last mounting point. And then we'll set it aside. Alright, so now at this point we can continue on to removing each of our plate light assemblies. You'll find that on each of the plate light assemblies you have one Phillips head screw. On ours, they're pretty much rotted. I can't remove them with a Phillips head screwdriver. I'll go ahead and cut the bolt out of here, but for you, typically you can just use a Phillips head screwdriver. Once you've removed the screw, continue on by removing the plate lamp assembly. Give it a quick inspection, make sure it's still reusable, set it aside, and do the exact same thing to the other side. Okay friends, now it's time to start reassembling our brand new bezel. Let's start with our plate light assemblies. When you look at these, you're going to notice one side has a little area that protrudes out, and the other side has that little bolt hole. You want to make sure you have the area that protrudes out slide right into this area. There we are. Now we'll line up our mounting bolt hole and start in each of our mounting bolts. Keep in mind, you're only screwing into plastic. We don't want to try to strip anything out. Give it a little wiggle. At this point, we can continue on with our wiring apparatus. Let's take it and put it in position, coming all the way across. I'll make my way over to this side over here and put in my plate light pigtail. Once you have it lined up, turn it clockwise until it's completely locked in. Give it a wiggle to make sure it's secure. Now we'll continue on with our wiring, making sure that we slide it into each of its mounting points. Should go right in. Now we can take this and we're going to slide each of these plastic pitons up and through their corresponding square holes. Now we can carefully press this in. Once you have it completely bottomed out, let's continue on with our two Phillips head mounting screws. We'll just start each of these in by hand as always and then snug them up. Now over at the vehicle, let's have a look at the wiring. We're going to be sliding this through first. Once we do, you also want to make sure you line up each of your mounting studs with their corresponding holes in the tailgate assembly. Slide this through. We'll put through the rubber grommet. Looking at the rubber grommet, you can tell that it has a ridge that goes all the way around. We'll go ahead and press this through and try to line up that ridge with the tailgate. Give it a wiggle. You want to make sure this is secured in place so no moisture or debris can make its way into your vehicle. Now we'll go ahead and line up those studs. As we do, pay attention to your wiring. You want to make sure that the wiring is not sitting up and around this area. You want it to be underneath the stud. Once you feel as though you have it in place, continue on by lifting the tailgate and installing your two mounting nuts. Start on each of the mounting nuts before you tighten either. All right, snug them up. You want to look at the connectors itself, and you'll find that on the blue one, you have a large carved out area. That's for the locking tab on the other side of the wiring. Go ahead and carefully line it up, slide it in, listen for a click. Once you hear that click, give it a tug to make sure it's completely secure. After you have it secured, continue on to making sure it's secured to the tailgate itself. We'll gently press this up in here. Make sure that's secure as well. Same for the white connector. Make sure you line up the locking tab, listen for a click, give it a tug. Press it into the tailgate, make sure it's secure as well. Now we can put up our protective panel. We'll start with the center. I already have my push tab in place. I'm going to press it right up into its corresponding hole. Now at this point, you just want to continue lining up all the rest of the holes and putting in your push pins all the way around. All right, at this point it looks amazing. Let's go ahead and test it real quick. And it works. Thanks for watching.